The 7 signs: you're a dark chosen one with rare dual power for the new earth. There comes a moment in some of our lives where we stop pretending we're normal. We stop pretending we fit into the spiritual boxes that were handed to us, the ones with soft lights, angel numbers, and sanitized affirmations that never seemed to reach the parts of us that were still bleeding. If you're watching this, chances are you're not like the others. You never were. From the beginning, you felt things more deeply, saw things more clearly, and were haunted by a knowing that you couldn't explain. The world tried to label you: sensitive, intense, rebellious, too much, too strange. But what they couldn't see is that you were never broken. You were built this way for a reason. You're not here to be a follower of light. You're here to wield it through the dark. Being a dark chosen one doesn't mean you are evil. It means you were chosen to work with the raw, unfiltered energies of life. You didn't just awaken to love and light. You awakened through shadow, through pain, through chaos. You were initiated not in temples, but in trauma. Your wisdom didn't come from books. It came from surviving what others didn't. You've walked through fires that could have scorched your soul, and instead of becoming ash, you became alchemy. And that's the first sign. You carry both worlds inside you, not just the light of the heavens, but the depth of the underworld. You are a bridge between dimensions, a rare being who can walk with angels and still look a demon in the eye without blinking.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The second sign is that you trigger people without even trying. Your presence alone brings up things in others they're not ready to face. You walk into a room and suddenly the energy shifts. You speak truth and people flinch because it slices through the illusions they've built their identities on. And what's wild is, most of the time, you're not even trying to be provocative. You're just being. But your frequency is ancient, and it activates dormant codes in others. Some respond with awakening, others with resistance. And so you've walked through life often misunderstood, misread, or even feared. But I want you to know something deep in your bones. Your energy is not a problem. It's a signal that something higher is breaking through the matrix. The third sign is you've always been able to feel what others can't. You sense the unspoken. You feel the weight in the room that no one dares admit is there. You've had psychic dreams, strange synchronicities, and moments where reality bent just enough to show you that there's something deeper going on than this 3D illusion. Some of you have had brushes with death or the supernatural. You've heard whispers in silence. You've felt presences in empty rooms, not because you're delusional, but because your perception isn't dulled like the rest. Your sensitivity is a gift. It's your radar. It's how the new earth speaks to you, through symbols, frequencies, and energies that can't be explained but are undeniably real. You don't just believe in magic, you are it. You embody it. The fourth sign is that you've carried immense pain, but that pain didn't turn you bitter, it turned you into a healer. You didn't become cold, you didn't become cruel, you became compassionate. You learned how to hold space for others because no one held space for you. You became the alchemist, not by studying theory, but by transmuting your own wounds into wisdom. And that's why people come to you. That's why strangers spill their secrets to you. That's why your presence feels like a sanctuary. Because you've done the inner work. You've walked through your own shadow and came out holding light in your hands. That's the rare dual power you hold. You can descend into darkness without losing your light and ascend into light without denying the dark. That's what makes you dangerous to the system and sacred to the earth. The fifth sign is that you've always felt called to something bigger, even if you couldn't name it, even if you tried to run from it. There's been this quiet tug in your soul, this knowing that you're here for a reason, not just to survive or make money or build a nice life, but to shift something, to build something, to awaken something. You've had visions, you've had dreams, you've had moments where time stopped and you felt the pulse of something ancient moving through you. You've always known that you were here to lead, not in the traditional sense, but as a frequency, as a presence, as a bridge between the crumbling world and the new one that's being born. The sixth sign is your relationship with isolation. You've been alone a lot, not just physically but spiritually. You've walked through seasons where no one understood you, where you questioned your sanity, where you begged the universe for a sign that you weren't crazy, that you weren't cursed. But what if I told you that isolation was part of your training? What if I told you that solitude is how the universe cloaks its chosen ones while they are being rewired? You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. Because the mission you carry can't be downloaded when you're surrounded by noise. It comes in the silence, in the darkness, in the void. And now, you're starting to remember. The seventh sign, the rarest of them all, is that you've started to feel your power. Not the ego-driven kind, not the performance, but the deep, ancient, sacred force that lives in your bones. You've started to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You've started to reclaim your gifts. You've started to feel the earth speak to you, the stars whisper to you, the codes unlock in your DNA. You are becoming what you were always meant to be, a dark chosen one with rare dual power. Not to dominate, not to escape, but to anchor the new earth, to be a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm, to be a guardian of the truth in a world built on lies. Now I ask you something that only your soul can answer. If you truly accepted that you were chosen, not in arrogance, but in service, how would you live differently starting today? The pain was the portal. Why your suffering was your initiation into power. Every chosen one walks through a threshold before they awaken, and that threshold is pain. Not just ordinary pain, not the kind that comes and goes like a storm, but soul-deep agony. The kind that rewires your reality, strips away your innocence, and forces you to question everything you thought you knew. And if you're here, if you're resonating with these words, then you already know what I'm talking about. The sleepless nights, the moments where your chest felt like it was caving in, the betrayals that left you hollow, the loneliness that felt like exile, the confusion that made you doubt your own mind. That was never random. That was initiation. That was the fire that burned away what wasn't real so that your real self, the chosen one, could be revealed. You see, most people think awakening is beautiful. They imagine crystals and incense and meditations under the full moon. But for dark chosen ones like us, the beginning was brutal. We didn't rise through comfort. We rose through chaos. We didn't step into the light. We crawled through darkness, broken, bruised, but still breathing. The pain was the portal. It cracked you open so that the sacred could seep in, shattered your ego so that the soul could lead. It humbled you so deeply that you no longer feared death. because you had already died 1,000 emotional deaths and still came back. That's not weakness, that's divine resilience. That's the power that can't be taught, it can only be earned. Ask yourself this: if your pain had a voice, what would it say? Would it tell you that it was trying to destroy you, or would it whisper that it was trying to wake you? Because behind every wound you carry is a hidden message, a code, a lesson. You weren't abandoned, you were being set apart. You weren't punished, you were being purified. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every heartbreak taught you self-worth. Every dark night of the soul taught you how to find your own light when no one came to save you. That's the kind of power that can't be faked. That's why your presence feels different. That's why you walk into rooms and the energy shifts. You didn't read about healing, you lived it. Think about all the times you wanted to give up. All the moments you thought, I can't do this, it's too much, and yet you're still here, stronger, wiser, more awake. That's sign enough that you're not ordinary. Ordinary people don't survive what you went through. Ordinary people don't carry the codes you carry. You were never meant to walk the easy path. You were meant to forge a new one. And to do that, you had to be broken open so that your power could flow through the crack. That's what pain does to the chosen. It opens the channel between human and divine. And here's the deepest truth. Your suffering wasn't just about you. It was ancestral. It was karmic. You were clearing timelines. You were transmuting energy for generations. You were ending cycles that no one before you had the strength to face. That's why it felt so heavy. That's why it nearly crushed you. Because you were carrying the weight of more than one lifetime. You are the rebirth they prayed for. You are the miracle they never got to see. And that's why your path was so brutal. Because the prize is so sacred. The pain taught you how to hold energy, how to stand in storms without being moved, how to love people who hate themselves, how to forgive what was never apologized for. That's spiritual mastery. That's light forged in shadow. That's why you're here now, because the new earth doesn't need surface-level healers. It needs warriors of light who know how to walk through darkness without losing their soul. And that's you. So I ask you, what if your pain wasn't proof of your weakness, but evidence of your mission? What if everything you survived was sacred training for the role you're about to step into now? You see what others can't, the silent power of the seers. There's something about your eyes, not just the way they look, but the way they see. You've always seen differently, not just what's in front of you, but what's beneath it. You sense the tension in someone's voice long before they speak. You feel the energy shift in a room before anyone else notices. You look at the world and see patterns, connections, warnings, symbols. You see through masks, through systems, through illusions. And for most of your life, this gift might have felt like a burden, because when you see what others can't or refuse to, you become isolated, misunderstood, even feared. But make no mistake, this is a gift, a rare and sacred one, and it's time you stop hiding it. Seers aren't always prophets or psychics in the traditional sense. Sometimes they're quiet observers. They sit in rooms full of chaos and remain still, not because they're weak, but because they're calculating frequencies. They're reading the invisible. They're listening with something deeper than ears. You've done this your whole life. You've noticed the unspoken. You've picked up on lies that were never voiced. You've felt the grief behind a smile and the malice behind a compliment. And for a long time it made you question yourself. You wondered, why do I always feel so much? Why do I know things I can't explain? But now you're beginning to realize it wasn't imagination, it was intuition. It was truth. This kind of vision is not meant for everyone. Not everyone is ready to see what lies beneath the veil. Most people need their illusions to survive. They need the comfort of denial, the safety of predictability, but not you. You were built to walk in truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You were built to see the shadows, not to fear them, but to understand them. And that's what makes you rare. That's what gives you silent power. Because while others react, you respond. While others judge, you witness. While others follow, you discern. You're not easily fooled. Not by people, not by systems, not by narratives. Because you've trained yourself to trust the unseen. Do you realize how powerful that is? In a world where manipulation is currency, where distraction is a weapon, where truth is often buried under layers of noise, you are a threat. Not because you scream the loudest, but because you see the clearest. And you don't need to prove it. Your knowing is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It just is. And that's why people feel unsettled around you. Not because you're dark, but because your light exposes what they'd rather keep hidden. When you walk into a room, truth follows, and not everyone is ready for that kind of clarity. You've probably felt the weight of this gift, like you're carrying something ancient in your body, like your eyes have seen too much. And maybe they have, not just in this life, but across lifetimes. Seers are often old souls. You've been here before. You've watched civilizations rise and fall. You've seen the cycles of destruction and rebirth. That's why you're not easily shaken. That's why you can't be gaslighted, because deep down you remember. You remember what real truth feels like. You remember what real power is. And now, in this lifetime, you're being asked to reclaim it fully. But here's what most people miss. Your gift isn't just about seeing darkness. It's about recognizing light where others see none. You see potential in the broken. You see beauty in the messy. You see sacredness in the mundane. You can look at a person who's been discarded by society and still see the spark in them. That's why people come to you. That's why they feel safe around you, even if they can't explain why. You see them. And in a world starving for recognition, that is one of the most healing forces in existence. So I ask you a question that only a true seer can answer. If you stopped doubting what you see, if you fully trusted your inner vision, how would the world around you begin to change? You were sent to anchor the new earth. Why your dual power is the key to the future. There's a reason you're still here. After everything you've survived, after all the moments where it would have been easier to quit, to numb yourself, to become like everyone else just to feel safe, but you didn't. Something inside you refused to die, even when your body was exhausted and your mind was screaming for silence. And that something is the very reason you were sent here. You weren't just born, you were assigned. You were sent to help usher in something humanity has never seen before, the new earth, a reality where truth, embodiment, and frequency lead, not control, fear, or illusion. And the key to that new world isn't just light, it's duality. and that's what you carry. You're not here to pretend everything is love and light. You're not here to bypass the shadow or escape into false positivity. You're here to integrate. You're here to show the world that it's not about choosing between dark and light. It's about becoming the bridge between them. That's your power. That's your essence. You can walk through the fire without burning and hold the light without blinding. You are the rare embodiment of the sacred paradox, and that's why your life has never looked like everyone else's. That's why your journey has been messy, non-linear, and filled with initiations that most couldn't survive. Because you weren't built for the old world, you were forged for the new one. The new earth isn't a place. It's a frequency, a way of being, a remembrance of who we were before fear took over. And to anchor it here, it takes souls like you, souls who've seen the worst and still choose to love anyway. Souls who've been betrayed, shattered and made invisible and still return with open hearts and open hands. That's not weakness. That's divine strength. That's what makes you a creator, builder, a code holder for the future. While others are still waiting for permission, you've already been activated. You don't need a title or a platform or a robe to prove your role. Your presence is the initiation. Your being is the broadcast. You may not feel ready. You may still doubt your worth, your gifts, your role. But readiness was never the requirement. Willingness is. And you've already shown that. Every time you chose healing over revenge. Every time you spoke truth when silence would have been safer. Every time you walked away from what didn't honor you, even when it left you alone. That was the training. That was the mission. And now you're stepping into the next phase. You are not here to be one of many. You are here to be one of the first. The ones who hold the line when the old world collapses. The ones who remind others how to feel again, how to trust again, how to see again. Your dual power, the light and the shadow, is exactly what makes you capable of leading in this new reality, because you're not afraid of the dark anymore. You've befriended it. And that's what makes you trustworthy. Not perfect, not above others, but real. And in a world drowning in masks, your realness is revolutionary. So the question now is not if you're chosen, it's what will you do with that knowing? Will you keep hiding? Or will you begin to walk as if the earth itself is waiting on your footsteps? Because it is. The grid is shifting. The veil is thinning. The time is now, not next year. Not after you figure it out. Now. You carry codes in your voice, in your presence, in your frequency. Every time you speak your truth, you activate someone else's. Every time you heal a timeline. Every time you love, you rewrite what's possible for humanity. You are not just a dark, chosen one. You are a key, a portal, a living blueprint for the new earth. And now is the time to remember, because the future is no longer coming, it's already here, and it's waiting for you.